Boo, I see you. Come on, y'all. It is the TSA Hoop Show. We are up. We are at it. Early bird gets the worm, and we are jumping on it this morning before any hoops tip off this morning. 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You know what it is. Same bad time, same bad channel. It's your boy JR. This is the TSA Hoop Show. Hopefully, you guys are tuning in now. If not, hopefully, you guys tune in to us every week. Watch us on YouTube. Stream us live. You know where it is. And watch these back for some fun times, some good hoop talk, maybe some money making bets. We'll see. Man, March is great for one reason and one reason only. I was born in it. Other than that, man, for some teams, it sucks. It sucks trying to be a professional basketball team, maybe even a college basketball team during this month of let's just chalk it up. It's March Madness. I mean, the NBA gets a backseat. You hear about things here and there, but college hoops is going on today. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. Dogfight. We're going to talk about a dogfight that the NBA is at the moment. Some teams struggling to try to maintain where they are in the standings. We're going to go over that. Some things that are going, some games, some important games that have happened, some important wins. Some teams are still trying to fight to maintain position. We posed the question to you. So if you guys are listening to this later on your Spotify, it's going to be a great question. So we're just going to go ahead and kick it off with the standings right now. Just so that we can go ahead and get you guys a look if you haven't tuned into the NBA yet. Still don't know why you haven't. Greatest show on earth right now. So we're just going to go like this. Yes, race to the playoffs. And of course, they got last year's champ on there. But let's go ahead and get this center right now. Man, after that loss last night, that 30-something point loss to the Bulls last night, the Lakers got knocked down to the fourth seed. Good for them, though. Humbling. Had everybody back. Bulls just went off. There's no two ways about it. You get everyone back after a 1 to 2 week hiatus. Luka on and off out there. Gets weird, gets odd. But, what can you do about that? So standings as they stand right now, Thunder 1, Rockets. We've been talking about the Rockets, y'all. I've been saying that they're going to make that push. We didn't know which team was going to enter the playoffs. The Rockets are back, y'all. 2 seed. I believe they're on a 9-game winning streak, 8 or 9, something good like that. There have been some really good long winning streaks this season. So shout out to the Rockets for taking advantage of that and the nonsense that's been happening at the 3 through 5 position. We got Denver at 3. Of course, I think that's their I don't know. Denver 3 or 4 is right around their spot right now. Because right there at 5 is Memphis. There's Memphis, who seems to win a couple games and then lose a couple of head scratchers. So they might be settling in as the second to last playoff spot. 6 right now. 6 right now. Warriors. The 6th spot right now is the Golden State Warriors. And that's the most interesting part of the today's story as far as the dogfight, because we talked about it last week, how the Warriors, how I said the Minnesota Timberwolves were going to be that last team that are going to be in. I didn't think that the Golden State Warriors had enough to maintain their lead. They are a half a game ahead of the Clippers and the T-Wolves right now for that 6th and final spot. I don't know, man. Clippers can mess that up for everybody, but we'll see. Three teams fighting for one spot between Golden State Warriors at 6, LA Clippers at 7, Minnesota at 8. Minnesota coming off of a win, Clippers coming off of a late surge win. James Harden has been playing out of his mind as part of the season. It's like he's back at USC, beardless, and taking USC to the Sweet 16. Minnesota there at 8, 41-31. Got Sacktown and the Phoenix Suns. For Sacramento is one thing. They're sort of floundering around in their position. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Sacramento is the team that made that trade for De'Aaron Fox. Made that trade of De'Aaron Fox. Made that trade for DeRozan, Zach LaVine, decided to make Sabonis the focal of the offense, although it hasn't been him as a closer. It's been weird having DeRozan as a closer. They got rid of Mike Brown. They went with interim head coach Christie. Just a lot of questionable stuff, and they're at 35-35, so it's possible they may make the play-in as a home team against the Phoenix Suns. And it's just 2 question marks down there, because actually technically 3 if you count Dallas there at 11, simply because the stories behind each team. We just talked about Sacramento, and then Phoenix, of course, 11-3 over the last 14. I don't think that's right. 6-4 over the last 10 on 3-game winning streak. They are now a little bit more in control of getting that last and final play-in spot, and I think that if they get in, they're the dangerous team to beat. I think they're the one team that, if any other team is trying to make the playoffs in that 7-10 spot with the play-in tournament, I don't think that Phoenix is the team that you guys want to see, because in a 1-game series, I believe that they can win that 1. I believe that they can win 2 to get in. And for Phoenix, I think that they can beat Sacramento on paper. And I believe that if the Clippers decide to lay an egg and they end up at the 7th spot and they play Minnesota, I believe that Phoenix can beat that team too. All 4 of those teams, 3 out of 4 of those teams are definitely teams that can fight for and possibly get in. But Phoenix, they've been winning without Bradley Beal lately. Bradley Beal is subject of multiple trades, and you can see how everything's been affected. The play of Bradley Beal, I mean, he's just thankful to be there. I think we talked about him at length a few weeks ago. And that is, it's all just very interesting, just considering, this is a team that had aspirations that, again, I had openly admitted that we had them projected to be the winners of the Pacific Division. There they are, sitting at 10th and 11th. I mean, the big story there, of course, is supposedly Anthony Davis is trying to rush back so that way he can finish out the season, but he hasn't been ruled out for the season yet. He has been participating in 5-on-5s. A few players have been participating in 5-on-5s, and it's all their big men. So if they believe that they want to extend the season because they felt it's been robbed thanks to injuries, I mean, I don't blame them, but I don't know. If I'm Nico Harris, if I'm head coach Jason Kidd, I just I try to force these guys to sit as best as we can. And I say that because, I mean, live to fight another day. Who knows what the state of the team is going to be next season, but stronger together, man. You got Kyrie out for the season. Your interior is just completely decimated. You have to go back to the drawing board. I think that, and this is not even about And we're not talking about a team that should be tanking. We're talking about a team that should be healthy, that should be able to provide a good brand of basketball. And while Dallas has found ways to win, I think that they're hurting themselves by trying to do that. If they play with the team that they have and then they get into that 10 spot, more power to them. And then if Anthony Davis wants to come back for a tune-up game or whatever, just kind of try it out. Cool. But overall, everyone sit down. Chill out. Let my man Spencer Dinwiddie cook. Show the league how important it is to be able to sign players in emergencies when you only have 6 people left. Show the fate of the injury bug. Let this team be an example for the league on how teams can fight and be a detriment to the brand. And I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy here about the Dallas Mavericks. I'm talking about practicality. Okay. They're fighting to get a play-in spot, to play a little more basketball versus the 1 through, let's face it, the 1 through 8 teams, which have been playing a brand of basketball, which is made for TV. Clippers got a question mark. And then you got the rest of the teams there. We don't need to talk about them, except for Portland, who mathematically is not eliminated and seems to be winning games. And they're slowly becoming the West Coast Detroit. I always wonder, should we bother talking about? We put up a tweet. Put up a tweet yesterday. Cleveland 1, Boston 2, New York 3, Indiana 4, Milwaukee 5. That 4-5 spot, Milwaukee and Indiana, those guys are going to be in the dogfight. I think that's the matchup right there. And I think that you guys should pay attention to both teams, because whoever is at home on that matchup is going to win that series. Detroit at 6, story team. We don't need to talk about them at length. Atlanta Hawks featuring Dyson Daniels, Defensive Player of the Year. You heard it here. That's stamped. That's in there. I'm sorry. The man's leading the league in steals. He's on a historic pace right now. Say the drama for your mama right now. Orlando Magic, which, boy, if you want to talk about flip it on his head, that his team is upside down right now, but they're finding ways. Chicago Bulls, again, they won one last night. They're trying to do some things. Shout out to Iggy for trying to put some positive positioning on Josh Giddey, trying to up-talk him last night. We're going to have to dissect the Chicago Bulls in the offseason. Now, the number 10 spot. I laughed about it. I said that Toronto Raptors are going to force their way to make Miami the 10 seed, right? Toronto Raptors are on a 3-game losing streak. Philadelphia on a 3-game losing streak. Brooklyn on a 3-game losing streak. Charlotte Hornets lost their first one after a while. Washington on a 4-game losing streak. That's 11 through 15. At number 10, the Miami Heat, who have lost not 1, not 4, not 7. They have lost 10 out of their last 10 games. And they are still qualifying for the play-in tournament. God is good all the time. All the time. That's good. Wackiest season for the Miami Heat that I've seen in a very long time. And I've been on this earth 39 suns. Okay, 39 trips around the sun. I think this is JC, my brackets. We're gonna get to your bracket in a second, sir. We're gonna post some of those up. Wackiest season I've ever seen for Miami in a long time. 10 losses in a row and you're still able to qualify for maybe making the playoffs. So what if Miami never gets another win this season? The other team's jockeying for position for lottery balls, never get another win this season. You're telling me that this team could coast, sit some players, kind of play, figure some things out, and maybe make an impact on the playoffs? What does someone say? If Chicago makes the 8th seed, they have a chance of beating Cleveland, who's on a 4-game losing streak right now. The number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference could be beat right now by the 31-40 Chicago Bulls. If this had been 2 weeks ago, I'd have thought you was crazy. I'd have said you was out your mind. In a series, can Chicago get one? Absolutely, because Cleveland has laid an egg on certain teams, but that's one game. 7-game series, I could not see 7 games of Evan Mobley. Okay, I could not see 7 games of Evan Mobley. And you telling me that, hey, what's up, Triple B? Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to the TSA Hoop Show. We got to get you on one day, man. Got to talk about your squad. Beautiful bearded bastards. I love it. I love it. Every time I see that account, by the way, y'all, I got to flex on them one time. Because you're probably the only one in this room right now that appreciates this lusciousness. 7-game series, Chicago versus Cleveland. There's no way that I could see Cleveland. If Cleveland, I mean, let's just flesh that out real quick. If Cleveland lost that 7-game series against Chicago, the biggest upset in the last 20 years. And that's, let's say 25, okay? Because you have some 8-1 series, right? You have the We Believe Warriors beating the 60-some win Dallas Mavericks. You have the 8-seeded Miami Heat, most recently, who beat the Milwaukee Bucks. Couple things happened. Yeah, that was 2020. Everyone's saying there was a bubble, blah, blah, blah. But Giannis goes down with that back injury, changes the series completely. Jimmy Butler was him. No one had really understood how to guard Tyler Hero or Duncan at the time, Duncan Robinson. So, you could chalk that up to just grit and grind over glam. Just trying to think of some big ones. Someone that posted not too long ago, Boston beating a 50-something win Cleveland team with LeBron James on it. But that Boston Celtics team had, the 3-headed dragon and Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett. So Detroit versus Lakers, NBA Finals 2003, 2004. Just because Lakers were posting a team with Karl Malone, Dennis Rodman, and for all you 90s babies and before, how crazy that's oil and water. Shaq, Kobe, Rick, Fox, the list goes on and on. Y'all know I'm a Lakers head, so I'm going to give you that history. And it was against a team that hadn't been this great defensively since the Bad Boys era. I mean, if you just start with Rip Hamilton and then end with Chauncey Billups with a mix of Tayshaun Prince in between, I mean, already you're talking about Hall of Famers, defensive anchors, And we didn't quite understand how tough that team was and how important it is to be long. Like, it's happening in the NBA right now. What's happening with Cleveland and Oklahoma City with youth, grit, grind, and just being able to extend yourself and cover the wings. Cleveland, for most of the season, and OKC have shown that. But I think that 2003, 2004 Detroit Pistons team was the blueprint for how they could beat a team that's coming off a three-peat veteran team. So, yeah, I think that Chicago beating Cleveland this year in a 7-game series and winning that series would be a much bigger disappointment than any of those combined. Because Chicago is supposed to be playing for lottery balls right now. Supposed to be building around Giddey. Supposed to be building around Vucevic. And I mean, they finally figured out who the point guard was going to be. They went with Kobe White. Shout out to the Tar Heels for not getting that play-in game and not making the tournament. Speaking of UNC, Tar Heels. Let's flip the script, man. Let's talk about some NCAA real quick. JC came on here for a quick minute. And raise your hand if your bracket's busted. I'm going to break this down real quick. Okay, so Sweet 16 is right around the corner. Games are being started today. TSA has a bracket pool in the Sleeper app. For those of you who don't know, we're going to be updating the standings, and I'm gonna push that out for y'all. I'll let you guys know how we're doing as a group. All right. So Auburn. Creighton was up on Auburn by like 15 points or something like that early on their game versus Creighton. And Auburn almost killed it for me. So let's see where we're at. We're trying to check the standings. Okay, Sweet 16 is almost around the corner, y'all. Actually, am I tripping? No, they're coming right now. Nope. Round of 32 is finishing up today. Okay, round of 32 is finishing up today, y'all. So comment below if your bracket is busted too. I picked Auburn as overall champion, and we'll see how that goes. But I was listening to that St. John's versus Arkansas game yesterday, and for those of you that don't understand the context or the depth of that game, it's featuring two coaches in Rick Pitino and John Calipari. Now, a lot of your NBA teams have players who've played under those two coaches. A lot, like Mike Krzyzewski, Pitino, Calipari, a little bit of and now his name escapes me. Former UNC head coach. And we talked about Kobe White. Kobe White played under. See, now it's going to bother me. Roy Williams. Roy Williams put a lot of your favorite basketball players in the NBA. And the reason why this is important because Calipari was a coach of a few of a couple different teams, and of course, between him and Rick Pitino, NCAA rules, sanctions, all this other crazy stuff, these coaches were out and were forced to basically take a back seat and then go into programs later on that was like their alma mater or whatever, because of these sanctions. So this NCAA has basically moved away from these figureheads. We've been forced to try to figure out who's who through the draft as far as NBA goes. We don't know these teams. We don't know these names. So fast forward to today where you got number 2 seeded St. John versus number 10 seeded Arkansas. And side note, seeds don't matter much in NCAA. It's one and done. You either can win or you can't. And I listened to that game, and that game for the first half, it was like the teams were tight. St. John's took like 8.5, 9 minutes to hit their first 3-pointer all game. It was crazy. It was weird. Granted, I'm cutting grass and stuff like that, and it was tough. But the story behind these games is the wins, losses between these two coaches, something like 20-something odd games, 40 games overall, if you include both of these coaches have had NBA careers. Had some games against each other, so they knew each other very well, and Arkansas won that game. So while it might have been upset seed-wise, it's one coach that knew what he was doing versus another coach that knew what he was doing. That's all that it came down to. St. John's lost that game, and I think that if you wanted to have an exciting game, I think that the time of the game was perfect. It was a lot of New York, Northeast type of energy, New England type of energy. So I think that if you go back and listen to the game, you go back and rewatch the game, you can see how excited everyone was. It was a very big matchup. You would have thought that it was the Final Four or something like that, the way that the energy was being put out. But yeah, shout out to both programs, both coaches making a big comeback and bringing attention back to March Madness, because a lot of these games, a lot of people don't care about. Some of us are just waiting for the draft to happen to see who's the best player available other than Cooper Flag. All right, so brackets all but busted. I don't even know what brackets. Let's see. In the round of 64, I got 22 right. In the round of 32, I got 5 right. So I am middle of the pack. Yeah, it's the one at the head of the pack right now who's done a little bit better, but averages about 23 right now for that first round. God, I can't believe JC, you put UNC and Duke. JC put UNC and Duke as for the final matchup, not knowing that UNC barely qualified for the tournament. That's a story program if you guys ever want to follow on about how they're refinding themselves under a new head coach. Actually, it's not new. It's like second, third year. Make sure you guys tap in. Let us know how your brackets are doing. Big games today for basketball and NCAA. When you guys get done with us, man, you know what I miss? We used to run on, when it was Twitter, we used to run what do they call it? What's them talk rooms called? I forget what it was called. We used to run a show, NCAA, allow you guys to know what's going on that morning, bets, good things like that. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we might bring that back in the future. Kicking off, UConn versus Florida. They're starting in 1 hour, you guys. So make sure you tap into that game. And then Baylor versus Duke. So those are the two good games, or two big teams, the two number one seeds. They're starting off early, getting them done and out the way. Make sure you guys tap into those games. I'm going to be tapping in later this evening to the Oregon and Arizona game, simply because they're former Pac-12 teams. Shout out to the big homie, big sis. Big sis Melissa. I appreciate you. Bear down. Alumni of Arizona. She's always putting big things out there, Arizona. So shout out to her. Hopefully Arizona comes out on top on that game. She has some big games to watch today. And now, without further ado, we got to address this question. Okay, so last week, 2 weeks ago, a buddy of mine, Dr. Adam David Lambro, decided to tune into the show and give his thoughts on Boston. Then he follows up with me. He asked me a question in person, because I know this guy in person. He asked me this question. So this question is actually thanks to him. Hey, on your favorite team, who would you pick to have your back in a fight? Your favorite NBA team, who would you pick to have your back in a fight? Now, if I was a Detroit fan, a Pistons fan, I hope all of y'all say Isaiah Stewart and none of y'all say Cade Cunningham, because Cade he's not in a position to be fighting anyone. None of y'all really answered the question, but it's fun to think about, because, I mean, I got the Lakers, right? And I'm thinking of anyone on the Lakers. I don't think there's anyone that I believe would be able to squabble with me, or who I'd want to. I wouldn't pick LeBron. I wouldn't pick Luka. LeBron can't afford to get in a fight. I think Luka too slow. Not AR. Austin Reeves, for those of y'all that don't know. Jordan Goodwin, maybe, would probably be, because he's scrappy, you know. You got to pick someone that's scrappy, that looks like they can throw hands and also can afford to get into a fight. I mean, Cam's just kind of sitting there, and everyone's talking about Cam Reddish might be the next guy out. So he's got a lot to fight for, or maybe he doesn't fight at all. I don't know how that goes. If you're super upset, right? Do you? Okay, let me go down the roster real quick. Okay, so immediately people think just because it's the main image of the defensive anchor, Jared Vanderbilt, right? But he's got back issues, so he tweaks that one time, he's done in a fight. Dalton Connect, the kid just got here. Might want to sit this one out. I don't know if he's got hands yet. He's a grown man, and he went to Tennessee, so he probably had some squabbles, but nah. Cam Reddish, just talked about him and Riding the Pine. You can get one of two Cams. You can get the Cam that's pissed off about the whole season and just letting all of his anger out, We'd love to see that Cam, because Cam looked like he could throw hands. Or he can get Cam just saying, "You're a Lakers fan. I don't care about the Lakers right now." Gabe Vincent, I need someone. I mean, he's 6'2". I'm only 6 foot, but I don't need two of me out there. Bronny James. Bronny James is taller than Gabe Vincent. And he's bigger than Gabe Vincent. Holy cannoli. I just saw that. Anyway, nah, not Bronny. Christian Coloco is a maybe, but I haven't seen him move enough to say for sure. Jackson Hayes. Maybe Jackson Hayes. 7 foot. He's 220. Kid flies all over. He's got big hands. Maybe it's going to be Jackson Hayes. Because next is Maxi Kleber. Injury prone. Can't do it. Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves would be my sleeper pick. Because a lot of people doubt the kid. And then he just comes up and punches you in the face on the basketball court. Not like literally, but he looks like a guy. He seems like he has a character to be like, oh, like you will wake up the next morning and he has like a do-rag on and a cigarette in his mouth. And you're like, it's the same AR. It's like they call me AR for a reason, because Dorian Finney-Smith, scrappery, but nah. Shake Milton, nah. We already talked about LeBron James, Alex Len. Alex Len probably would not be able to stop an iceberg from running into me from a distance. He's so slow. Rui Hachimura, Rui's too nice. I think like there's like a low anger inside him, and I've seen it at times, but I think that he's overall too nice of a guy. I think he would be able to diffuse any situation that we would be in together by talking it out and smiling. He's got a great smile. I think that if you needed someone to like pacify a situation, Rui's your guy. Then we got Jordan Goodwin. I said that maybe him. Trey Jameson, third, possibly him. Not Luka. And then Markieff Morris. Maybe Keith. Because I get a +1. I get his brother. That'll come out of nowhere. They'll get that ninja twin action thing going and make you think you're seeing double. So guys, make sure you guys put it in the comment section. And make sure you tune into us every Sunday, 7:30 a.m. We get up bright and early to give you guys the news of the week. We went through the standings of the NBA, went through a couple of the games in the NBA. Let's run some of those games down too, because I know you guys are excited for what's going on this week. It is Sunday, and you let us know who you would take with you from your favorite team into a fight. Post that below. We would love to post some of your answers, because always fun. Cleveland is playing the Utah Jazz today. There's no way they could lose that game, right? They're at 12:30 today. Pelicans are playing the Pistons. Pelicans have been here and there, winning a couple games here and there, but it's all about who's available. They start the day at 12. Celtics, they're playing Portland today. And again, Portland has been mathematically eliminated, so it's just going to depend on who the C's have available. Spurs are playing the Raptors, and I told you guys, the Raptors, that they are very capable of winning. They're just not right now, okay? So it just depends on which Raptors team that comes out swinging. Charlotte, of course, now they're losing ways of playing against Miami Heat. Which team wants it more? The Charlotte actually want to mess up their chances at winning, or no? At winning more lottery balls or not? Sixers at Hawks. Hawks still have an opportunity to make more of a dent in their playoff standings. Sixers, on the other hand, again, is this the shut it down season? Because already Paul George shut it down. Nuggets at Rockets. That's going to be a big one tonight. Playoff implications there. And then OKC at Los Angeles. Thunder still trying to push for their 60-win season. Possibly could get 70 if they play it right. Ooh. So yeah, here's what I'm thinking. You're gonna lead off with Detroit winning today. Let's see here what the spread for that game is.
Okay. Mommy, Uncle Paul.
Sorry guys, family things are happening right now. All right. New Orleans at Detroit. Detroit minus 12.5. I'm not liking the spread, but I could take Detroit straight up for that game. I never like spreads, double-digit spreads. They are traps. You know, double-digit spreads could always dictate that someone's sitting that game that you didn't think was sitting before, and changes the whole dynamic of the game. New Orleans is still playing for pride. Don't forget that. Cleveland at Utah minus 15.5. Now, again, Cleveland's coming off a 4-game winning streak. The question is, do they want to get back to their winning ways or not? They're at Utah, which seems to swallow up top teams. Like top teams, I feel like some days it's like the Twilight Zone where we're repeating or deja vu. We're just repeating ourselves. Don't sleep on Utah at home. If you're trying to go for something, if you're a top team, if you're trying to continue on a tune-up game, whatever it is, if you're one of these top 6 teams and you go into Utah, play your best. Because of all the teams that Utah has beat, okay, they've beat Dallas when they were good and they had Luka. They beat New York by 15. They've beaten Detroit, Miami, and Orlando. All these games. Okay, the Miami and Orlando were away, so that's fair. They beat Detroit in Detroit. Beat New York at home. Beat Orlando at home. Beat the Lakers at home. They beaten Houston at home. They beaten Minnesota at home. They beaten guys. I'm sorry. Trap game. Don't bet the spread on that Cleveland game. Just take it straight up if you're going to bet Cleveland, because Cleveland can't keep losing like this. Not because they need a win for anything else except for the fact that they're going into the playoffs as a top East Coast team. And if I'm them, I'm not letting this losing continue, because we need to know who we are going into the playoffs. My daughter cheesing at me in the background. Philadelphia and Atlanta. 9.5 spread. Almost done. Got to give the people what they want. Philadelphia's basically shut down most of their stars for the season, so it just depends on what Atlanta brings out. 9.5 at home. 5, I'm good with. 7, that's kind of in there. 9.5, that's close to the double digit. Maybe you could bet the spread on that one, but it's just so hard because 3/4 in, you'll know what kind of game you should get, and I'm sure that people will be biting their nails with that kind of spread. Atlanta straight up. Charlotte at Miami. I'd bet against the spread for this game. I mean, I don't think that it can be talked about enough when you have a 10-game losing streak and you're going up against Charlotte, who's not really even trying anymore this season. Lost out on a possible all-star bet with Lonzo with Ball. Had a really bad season thus far. Spreads -4.5 at Miami. I mean, they've beaten Charlotte before. Beat Charlotte by 8. Beat Charlotte by 5. Lost to Charlotte by 3. And now they play again today. I don't trust the spread. I'll bet against the spread. I'm sorry. It's a chance that Miami could tank this game. I don't know what they're trying to do. San Antonio at Toronto. Again, that's a franchise that's trying to hold on. De'Aaron Fox has officially shut it down for the season. No Wembanyama. But their young core is still trying to win. So I think that San Antonio could try to take it to Toronto. Toronto's favored by 1.5. Take the game straight up. I'd take Toronto this game. I would not bet the spread. Boston at Portland. But it's Boston by -7.5. This can go one of two ways for Boston. They could force this game into overtime, or with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, there'll be a couple of threes by Pritchard and Jason Tatum, which will make the spread 8 or 9 at Portland. Those are the only two ways I see this game going. They have been trending towards the latter direction of late surges, 3 points to ice the game. So you might be able to bet the spread on that one. Oklahoma City at LA, don't touch that game. Don't touch it. They're at the Clippers. I don't know what the Clippers are trying to do. Clippers are very close to vaulting themselves into a playoff position. Oklahoma City has nothing to lose this game. They have the number. If they could coast the way that Cleveland is playing, they could coast into the number 1 overall spot and have home court advantage throughout the playoffs right now if they're OKC. I wouldn't touch that game. And if nothing else, take the Clippers straight up. I mean, OKC can win that game, and they're still got guys that are coming back 100%. Yo, what up, coach? Good morning. We're almost out of here. Just talking a couple of games straight up and spread. Don't forget, guys, you got any questions, you got any bracket talk, don't forget to put it in the chat. Let us know. Make sure to tag us at the Sports Affiliate on X if you're there. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so that way we can get you. Got to give the people. Gotta give them what they want. Talk about the dogfights right now. That was awkward. I never kicked myself out of my own show before. That was weird. Anyway, talk about dogfights. The crazy standings that are where they're at right now. We went through 1 through 10. Again, 4 through 3 through it's 3 through 5 in the West. It's 7 through 10 out east. 7 through 9 really. So we'll see how that goes with a mix of Milwaukee and Indiana in there in between. Talk about the games today. Got our favorite player. Man, I can't believe the Lakers lost like that yesterday. I mean, I can, but I can't. Sometimes you just need to get slapped in the face to get woken up, or you wake up at 3:45 and go give your face an ice bath. This is not a face of someone that does that. I'm sorry. Saratoga water, baby. If those of you that don't know, make sure you get on X and find out some things that trending that are just absolutely ridiculous. And I've lived through plank challenges, Tide Pods, no one knowing what the Cupid shuffle is, or shuffling in general. Lived through some stuff, man. You see some ridiculous things on the internet. Anyway, make sure you guys tune in. We're gonna get out of here early. Man, I can't believe the Lakers lost that game today. Y'all, let's talk about this real quick. If your favorite team is losing 20 or 30 points in a possible tune-up game against a possible tune-up team, and that upsets you, think about how the players feel. They're probably confused, winded. And if you don't get it this late in the season, games like that can happen, but it still stings. It sucks. These guys lost by I don't know why it's making me so I don't know why it's making me so mad. I think it's the way that they lost because they lost at home. Because Josh Giddey got a triple double. He had 17 assists. He had 8 steals, y'all. The Lakers team cannot take care of the ball to save their life. Ugh, whatever. Oh, trying to think. There was one important thing that we said that we were going to get to today that I know that we haven't gotten to. We'll figure it out next time. Old man, dad stuff. Hey, all right. So again, thank you guys for tuning in today. Don't forget to tap in every Sunday from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We get up, we give you what you need. Got big bets, just gave those out there. Let us know how your fantasy squads are doing. For those of y'all that are in playoffs, let us know how you're doing right now because I'm losing all of mine. Losing all of mine right now. I'm probably gonna get knocked out in every single one of my playoff games this time around, which is okay. That stuff like that happens. You know, you do pretty good during the season and then you get punched in the mouth. NCAA, one and done. Let us know. We're gonna recap for you at later on in the season who some of our best fantasy players were, some big decisions that were made as far as start, cut, bench. That's going to be a fun thing that we're going to do later on. We're going to bring Coach on as far as what DFS plays he made throughout the season. We got a lot of stuff that we're going to be getting to later on. But for today, make sure you guys get your coffee, get caffeinated. And again, love, peace, and chicken grease, y'all. We are out.